What up, seventh grade? Today we are going to graph inequalities, okay? Now, before we get started, just to remind you that in your assignment today, um, what was I gonna say? You have an option, which is right here, where you could use the Nearpod F scratch paper, but for this skill, you don't really need it as much, but it's totally up to you, okay? Now, here we go. If I have to graph an inequality, it's much easier than you think. The most important thing is that you know what the inequality sign means and that, we're reading it from left to right. Okay, so what is this telling me? Now I'm going to use the Nearpod to just help us with the scratch paper, um, in case you wanted to use it, right? So we have X is, and then we have this. Now, what this means is, remember, if the sign is open towards the number that is greater than, and here's a line at the bottom, or equal to 2. So what is it saying? It's saying that x is greater than or equal to 2. That's what it's telling us. So what does that mean? Well, that means that now we have to graph it on the number line. So how do I graph that on the number line? Well, it's saying x is greater than or equal to 2, so you click on 2, right? So we're going to be at 2. And the most important thing in terms of graphing is this. You have two options. Now I'm going to make this a lot bigger just so you guys have it if you need it. If you have a closed circle in the graph, that means it is greater slash less than or equal to. And the reason why is because a closed circle means you're including that number. Now, open circle means less than or greater than. So what am I talking about in terms of open and closed circle? On IXL, you could either have it an open circle or a closed circle. So both of these are really important. You have to decide, is it open or closed? Because this is greater than or equal to, the circle is closed because it's in a way including that number. It's greater than 2 or equal to 2, so I'm having a closed circle. And then I'm going to graph numbers that are greater than 2. So here is going to be a closed circle. And I'm going to graph it like this because these are all the numbers that x can be. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 5, it could be 6, it could be 7, it could be 8, it could be 10. So this is kind of how you graph inequalities, okay? So that's the first one. Let's submit. Now, next one says x is greater than or equal to 2. So remember, closed circle means greater or less than or equal to. So I know that this is going to be a closed circle. So I'm going to go to 0. And I'm going to have the circle closed, and it's saying that x is greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to graph it, and I'm going to choose, again, all the numbers that are greater than 0. So on the number line, all of these numbers are greater than 0, so this is what x could be. You're showing like the range of all the values x can be. Okay, next we have x is greater than 10. So now it's a little bit different. This time it's going to be an open circle. Because for here, for example, it's saying x is greater than 10. So we are going to have an open circle when we graph because it's not including 10. It's just saying it's greater than 10. So that would be an open circle. So we change this to an open circle, and then it says x is greater than 10, so we graph. So also numbers that are greater than 10. We wouldn't graph this way because these are all numbers that are smaller than 10. So again, it's just saying like what can x be? X cannot be any of these numbers because these numbers are smaller than 10, but it can be whatever's on this side, which is numbers that are greater than 10. And again, open circle. That is probably the most important thing you have to understand. Okay, so same thing. There's a lot of greater than, open circle, x is greater than 9, submit. And so finally, this is the last one I'm going to do. This is saying x is less than 2. Okay, so first thing we determine, right? Like, first thing you want to think about, is it a closed circle or an open circle? So this is going to be an open circle because it's just less than. It's not less than or equal to. And then what direction do we go on the number line? So here it's saying x is smaller than 2. So I point to the numbers that are less than 2 on the number line. I wouldn't point here because all of these numbers are greater than 2. And that's it. So again, remember there's two things that you need to do, right? Here are, if you need them, the steps to help you out. So step number 1 is determine if it is a closed or open circle. And step 2 would be determine the direction of the number line. So you have to determine, like, is it going to be greater than or less than? Now, if you have any other questions, always feel free to call me. Let me know. And see you tomorrow.